Have you ever gotten that creepy feeling that something sinister is watching you? That irrational fear that you try to dismiss, but for whatever reason keeps nagging you? Have you ever come across someone or something that seems to cause calamity wherever it is? Well, what if that something was a game, submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society? I call my story The Tale of the Brain Lord. That intro was no joke. I've been working on making this episode happen for the last 4 hours, and each time I come out with a video that's riddled with static or has creepy audio issues like the sound of wood being dragged against the side of my wall. It's really disturbing. I was going to start off the video by asking if you liked mean games. Not hard games or bad games, but mean games. But now I think that the better question for you to answer is, do you like cursed games? I mean, Brainlord is a mean game. It kicks you in the shin and pokes you in the eye, it calls you names, and yet for some reason you keep coming back for more. But there's something more sinister about the game than that. I distinctly remember, as a kid, racking up something like a $40 late fee on this game. And don't ask me why, it's not that long of a game. But I think part of me just hated the game so much that I wanted to beat it. The other part of me hated the game so much I didn't even want to play it. What was that? Brainlord is an action RPG that was developed by Produce. Produce is probably best known for their work in the 7th Saga, a notoriously difficult turn-based RPG. In Brainlord, you play as a guy named Ramir, a guy who's searching for his long-lost father, but gets completely sidetracked by saving the world. Wouldn't we all? There's more to the story than that, but it's so thin it'd really just be a waste of time to tell you about it. So if that's the case, why am I playing this mean and uninteresting game? Well, the truth probably lies somewhere between nostalgia and masochism with a touch of intrigue. I mean, the game developers did some things wrong. I mean, they also did some things right. And if you squint, if you tilt your head at just the right angle, you might just catch a glimpse of what could have been. A glimpse of the genius that was otherwise obscured by the rest of the mediocrity of the game. Some aspects of Brainlord are a lot like classic Zelda titles. The game takes place in a top-down map with 8 directional movement. Throughout the game, Ramir acquires a nice arsenal of weapons that can be equipped and used with the press of a button. Pressing and holding this button charges a spell that fires upon its release. Interestingly, there's also a jump button, which will come in handy when the game introduces platforming elements. And for the most part, they're actually pretty solid. Unfortunately, there are some areas with moving, floating platforms, and the collision detection on these things is pretty abysmal. As is to be expected from a Super Nintendo action RPG, the majority of your time will be spent exploring the game's 5 dungeons. Throughout these dungeons, you'll acquire items that help you overcome obstacles and solve puzzles. With a name like Brainlord, I would expect the puzzles to be uniquely tough. And they are. Some puzzles are of the push-block variety, while others are riddles that you have to solve by pressing pressure plates in a specific order. These get progressively harder throughout the game and are extremely satisfying to answer correctly. On the other hand, There are dungeons with labyrinths of rocks that appear and disappear without any discernible pattern, making your progress entirely up to dumb luck. As you play through the game, you'll also find ambers, which are sorta like Pokeballs that hold fairies that are sorta like Pokemon. Except this game came out in 1994, 2 years before Pokemon. Those fairies are immensely helpful, if not required, for the completion of the game. Fairies can act as elemental magic turrets, which is interesting, but there's not a noticeable difference in the way they damage enemies. Other fairies perform support roles, including healing Ramir, increasing his attack or defense, or lighting up a darkened room. I really liked this concept, but it's really not as fleshed out as I think it could have been. And speaking of darkened rooms, this is what the game considers an endgame puzzle. You don't see anything? Yeah, me either. That's not just a black room that you have to navigate in the dark. That is a black maze that you have to navigate in the dark. And that light fairy that I was telling you about before, his magic doesn't work here. And in this maze that you can't see, there's parts of the floor that are moving, only you can't tell that they're moving floors because there's no light and you can't see anything. It's the most frustrating part of the entire game, and there are 3 of these mazes in the game. The music in Brainlord is probably one of the better parts of the game. It's got high-energy themes that ramp up the excitement when you're fighting in the overworld map. And it's also got slow, brooding, methodic music that plays when you're stuck on a puzzle in one of the dungeons. The sound effects, on the other hand, are kind of out of place. They sound like they could have came straight from a Jalico beat-em-up. And graphically, the game is unique. The sprites in the game are an interesting reinterpretation of the way a top-down game should look. Rather than going for the anime-style chibi look with the big heads and the small body, this game takes a relatively more realistically proportioned approach to sprite building, with a forced top-down perspective that unfortunately makes the sprites in the game look relatively bulky. Also not helping with the bulky appearance of the sprites is the relative size of Rumir to the rest of the screen. Compare his sprite to Ness or Blazer and you'll see what I mean. The overall quality of the graphics don't really hold up when you compare them to Secret of Mana, which was released the year prior, or to Chrono Trigger, which was released the year after Brainlord was released. The original sales figures for Brainlord have either been lost to time or are a closely guarded secret. Fortunately, though, the game is pretty easy to come by. You can pick one up in a local shop easily for about $10, so it's also relatively inexpensive. Now, as you may already know from my Soul Blazer video, the publisher, Enix, isn't too keen on the idea of re-releasing games on the Virtual Console. And even if they were, I wouldn't expect them to release this game on it because it's so obscure. I mean, they've got plenty of other games they should be releasing first. Throughout my gaming career, Brainlord has been by my side. As a child, it took me hostage and, like a cancer, began to grow on me. Maybe it's nostalgia, it could be Stockholm Syndrome. Whatever it is, it's a game that I hate to love. It's over time managed to carve out a small spot in my heart. And for that reason, it's also got a spot in the... No. I can't do it. Not in good conscience. I can't recommend this game. I thought that maybe if I shared this curse with other people, the game would let me go. But now I know it's never going to let me go. It's not going to let any of us go. It never planned on letting me go. Oh no. It's mad now. Get out of here. Go! You can't have me. I'm so scared.